Hey, it's Edward Stevens with the Stevens Group at Reese Nichols. I hope this new setup is going to keep you here focused for the next couple minutes. It's pretty. We got our fake plants. We got a little bit better audio setup. So let me know in the comments. Do you like this setup? Do you prefer the old setup? Do you like the car setup? Do you like when I had it on my desk, shot against my wall? Let me know. I'm real excited to talk about this topic tonight. This is something we don't really talk about online. I don't see anybody talking about this. I've honestly, truly never heard of a real estate agent talking about this before. Okay, so we're going to talk about selling. We're going to talk about selling a home. Okay, a secret to make sure you get the most out of it when you're selling. So real estate agents, lenders, and definitely home buyers and sellers, listen to this video. And I say home buyers as well as sellers because home buyers, you're going to be selling your home one day. So you got to be taking notes. Okay. I'm going to start with this. I heard this in a marketing, it was a conference that I was listening to a few years ago. I was listening to like the Audible version of it or whatever. Guy on stage asked this question. Let's say you're starting a restaurant. Let's say you're going to open up a restaurant. What is the one thing that you want more than anything else to ensure that your restaurant is successful? Do you know? So he asked the audience, right? What's the one thing you need more than anything else? The one thing to make sure that your restaurant is successful. And all kinds of people were shouting out ideas. For example, I want to make sure that I had the best chef in the whole United States come work for me. Or I wanted to have the best location for my restaurant. Or I wanted to have all the decor had to be top of the line, right? Or I needed to have the best customer service or whatever, the best pricing or whatever to ensure that the restaurant was successful. This is what the guy on stage said. If you want to make sure that your restaurant is successful, the one thing you need more than anything else is a starving crowd. A starving crowd. People who really, really are hungry and want to eat. If you have that and you have them outside, your restaurant will be fine. Okay. So when we're thinking about selling, we need to be thinking about the starving crowd. How does that relate to selling your home? When you sell your home, there's the people who are open to buying your home or open to buying a home. Like they're kind of on one side. But then you've got this other group of people. Maybe they're a little higher up on the ladder. These are people who have to buy a home. These are our starving crowd people. They have to buy. For whatever reason, in their mind, they have to buy. Major reasons why people buy or move include divorce, death in the family, job promotion, change in number of family members in the nuclear family, foreclosure. There's all kinds of reasons why people move, and some of those also result in people buying a home, right? Meaning they have to buy. They're kind of like our starving crowd type of people. When you're selling your home, it's way better from your standpoint to sell it to a starving crowd, to sell it to people who have to buy. We want to appeal to people who have to buy. Which brings me to my point tonight. The retail market, the average home buyer, and then we have investors. We have the average person or people they're just looking for a home. It could be their first house. It could be their 10th house. They have to buy. They want to buy. They're motivated to buy. They're pre-approved, whatever. They've got their loan ready. They got their real estate agent ready. They're ready to go out and do the thing. And then you have investors. You have investors over here. As a seller, this is my secret for the night. You want to tailor your listing to the retail purchaser, the retail buyer, the owner occupant, the person who is going to buy it without an investor's mindset. Sure, they might want to look at it and say, well, this is a good place to live. It's probably going to go up in value over time. It's not overpriced. That's fine. But ideally, you're selling it to somebody who does not have that dollars and cents, 50 spreadsheets going, calculating cash flow mindset. Here's why. You will sell your home for far more when your buyer of your home is emotionally driven. When they are emotionally driven to buy your home versus an investor who is just cold, hard, calculating the dollars and cents. The person who's calculating dollars and cents, there's no way they're going to be the most profitable of all the buyers in the buyer pool. It just at least in I've been doing this 10 years, I've never seen it happen. So to sell your home for the most money, you want to sell it to a retail, meaning not investor, type of a buyer. Okay. Furthermore, in my experience, when you sell it to somebody who has to get a low down payment loan, maybe somebody who's got 5% down or 3.5% down or 0% down, those people tend to pay more. There's the whole psychology, which we don't need to get into, about why people would pay more who are taking a loan versus people who are paying cash. I've got my opinions on it. It's not the focus of what I'm trying to talk about right now tonight. In my experience, people who are getting a loan and getting one where they only maybe have 5% or less to put down, they tend to pay the most in dollars for your house, in my experience. So, what can we do to ensure that we can snag one of those people? How do we make sure, you and I may not work together. You could be living in another state, or you might be 5 years away from selling your house, or you may not even own a house right now. But you may own a house in the future, okay? So what are the things that you can do, or if we're working together, you and I can do, to make sure we're snagging somebody who's willing to pay the most for your home? The first thing is, my opinion, you don't want to put your home on the market and say, we're selling as is. Meaning you will not make repairs. When you as the seller put that out there, I'm selling my home, I'm selling it as is, I'm not making any repairs, it gives an impression to a buyer, to the average buyer, who may not know 100 things about real estate. They may not have any experience buying a home. But that's our retail market. That's our target market that's going to pay you the most. When you say, I want to sell my home, I want to sell it as is, and that's on the listing, it freaks people out. It makes buyers think there's a lot of stuff wrong with your home, and it's going to cost the buyer a lot of money to fix it. So right away, we're alienating them from our buyer pool. We're appealing to investors. If you want to go for investors, that's cool. Investors look for things like that when they're looking for a deal. And a deal for an investor is typically not a deal for you as a home seller. So I always recommend, unless the circumstances are very extreme, I recommend not advertising that the home is being sold as is. Now, Edward, what happens if I don't want to make repairs? I don't want to lead people to believe that I would want to make repairs. If I don't want to make repairs, I would be wasting time. I'm going to piss the buyer off. I'm going to waste everybody's time if I put this home on the market and the buyer comes in, makes an offer, we accept it, and then they do their inspection, they ask for repairs, and I say no. Everyone's going to be mad. It's going to be a big waste of time. I should have just told them I will sell it as is. This is where I part company with other agents. I don't agree because, number one, we don't know what the buyer is going to ask for in inspections. That's number one. So don't assume that after the inspections are over, the buyer is going to ask for that furnace to be replaced. They may not. If we've been honest and we've been transparent on the seller's disclosure, we've told them this is going on with the furnace. This is what's going on with the house. Ideally, you and your real estate agent that's representing you on the sale of the home, you guys can negotiate with the buyer. And maybe they didn't ask for that furnace to be replaced, or maybe they asked for it and we were able to negotiate a credit, right? A couple $1,000s to go toward a new furnace that may need to be put in there in the near future or something, whatever. But I don't recommend that we just say as is, okay? Because number one, we don't know what they're asking for. Number two, if we do get asked, we can just negotiate. Number three, there is power in the contract. Usually, every contract can be written differently, but generally speaking, you have the right to say no. And a lot of times, buyers would like to have that furnace replaced. They would like to have X, Y, and Z fixed by you, the seller. But when faced with the reality of no, that's not happening, you'd be surprised how many buyers say, okay, well, whatever, we'll go get a quote for it, we'll fix it later. Or we'll try to raise our purchase price up. Maybe we can get it financed somehow. When the buyer wants the home, they're going to be more inclined to work it out with you. They're going to be more inclined to buy your home when they're emotionally driven to buy. When we're working with retail buyers and not, I call them retail buyers, when we're working with retail buyers and not investors. Okay? Retail buyers are far less likely to beat you up in inspection related repairs. Okay? The other thing is, let's say you want to sell your home as is, and you want to be even more proactive with selling your home as is. And let's say you know it's got problems. I've met a lot of sellers who've said, you know what, I'm ready to throw in the towel. I know this home needs foundation work. I know this home needs a new roof, or I know this home needs all like $30,000 of repairs or whatever. I want to sell it as is. What we can do is we can get quotes. I always think it's a good idea to get quotes for those repair items. So let's say it is a new roof. Let's say the new roof is going to cost $8,000, and let's say insurance isn't going to cover it. But let's say it's going to be an $8,000. Let's call it a $12,000 roof, okay? We could get a quote for a $12,000 roof. We could include that quote with the listing and say, seller's willing to put a roof on. Now, you as the seller, you may not want to put a roof on. You want to sell it as is. But we could price it in such a way that when we accept an offer, there's enough of a margin for you to put a roof on. The roofer gets paid at closing, right? So you don't have $12,000 right now, no problem. We'll line it up for the roofer to get paid at closing. Buyer gets the roof. You sold the home. You ended up putting a roof on, but you got the price you wanted. So it was all good. It was all good in the hood. That way, you're not giving these buyers an ultimatum. We're not fixing the roof, right? If you are proactive, if you get the quote, if you line up the contractor, or you have your real estate agent do it, because a lot of times real estate agents know people. They know the good from the bad out here, and they can advise you. The good contractors, the bad contractors, etc. If you're proactive in doing those things and you include them on the seller's disclosure and you include them on the listing, you open up the buyer pool again to that retail purchaser that we were talking about. Instead of going to the market and saying, hey, it's got a bad roof and I'm not going to fix it, you can say, it's got a bad roof, Here's the cost to fix it. Seller's willing to fix it with an acceptable offer. Okay? And buyers are going to come in and they're going to write you an offer based on that information. I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. If you have any other tips for how to appeal to retail purchasers, retail home buyers, I want you to drop them in the comments section. I'll probably do another video later this week, and I'll give you some more ideas on how to appeal to the home buyers, like we're talking about. They're going to pay you the most for your home. It's Edward Stevens with the Stevens Group at Reese Nichols. Look forward to seeing you one day at the closing table.